It's time for us to take a look at the front pages of some of the day's select national dailies. We're going to kick things off with a look at the Daily Trust newspaper for today. So here's a first look at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. From the top, 30 killed in Taraba communal clash. And we've seen some of those pictures over the weekend. It's quite graphic, quite disturbing to say the least. And begs the question, why this unending clashes? Why these unending attacks, despite all of the efforts of the Nigerian military, the police, and all the other stakeholders involved? It is one too many attacks and one too many deaths, if you ask me. Page 6 has all the details on the latest attacks. Questions over Port Harcourt refinery shut down after $1.5 billion rehabilitation. That is a story you can follow on page 23. PDP's reconciliation suffers setback as Wike pulls out. Read the thoughts of the FCT minister on page 13 and why this new development means that there's more troubles for the PDP to deal with going forward, especially given the body language of the FCT minister. And of course, the big story is talking about that coalition talks. Atiku, Obi meet Northern Group, and this meeting yesterday. On the sidelines, obviously, there was this commotion, right, from the Jigar delegation about who was going to speak on their behalf. It was quite a sight, but order was restored in a matter of minutes. But of course, you can tell that the tensions in that hall is quite indicative of the journey that still lies ahead for this rumored coalition that is still taking shape. And that is it on the pages, on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper for today. You can continue reading that top story on page 3 and 4. Let's go to the front page of the Leadership newspaper for today. Here are the top stories from the Leadership. JAMB data shows more candidates scored above 300 points in 2025 UTME. That's the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. I almost said 30. So where did we get the 75% failure rate, or at least below 200 mark? Because this one is contradicting that earlier report. So does this mean that we have to rethink what we already knew about? I mean, obviously the glitches didn't help matters, but that is definitely something. PDP crisis. Wike withdraws from reconciliation deal, blames Makinde. 2 shutdowns of Port Harcourt refinery in 5 months raise questions, and all those questions need to be answered. All right, let's get right into the details of some of these stories to give you some background information as well as the backstory leading to some of these blockbuster type of headlines. Join us virtually to provide some context to the analysis is Mr. Ben Sherman, former Director of News at the Voice of Nigeria. Mr. Ben, good morning. Good to see you as always. Where do we start from? Let's start with the coalition talks first and foremost. Let's get the politics out of the way. Atiku Abubakar Peter Obi arrived at the gathering yesterday in the Continental Hotel to discuss possible plans to unite the North as well as other regions of the country against the return of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027. What do you make of the latest development in that direction?
I think that this coalition is taking Nigerians for a ride. At the point you said you pull up from APC or PDP and you've gone to SDP. SDP is saying there's nothing like coalition talk. They are not ready to just accept anybody who will demolish their structure that they've built for this long. Last week they were talking of African Democratic Congress, ADC. And the story we are hearing about that place is that it's not too straight. And here we are this weekend, we're hearing of a coalition to kind of unify the North, one single force. As it were, the North will always say that they have the population, they have the voting population. But to what extent has that voting population been used to build the North? The North is busy fighting against itself in terms of banditry, insecurity, terrorism, kidnapping, and all that stuff. Yet every time it is North, North, North. What is the North getting in all of this? And look, INEC has not even told us this is they have lifted the ban on campaigns, but you can see that the North started it via El Rufai, who already was moving from one place to another, ensuring that Asiwaju is sent to Lagos at the end of his tenure in 2027. But you see, as an experienced politician, you can see the way Asiwaju Group 2 has responded. Take the airport road, for example. All you see neighbor to neighbor Asiwaju campaigns. You see big billboards, Asiwaju campaigns. And we are now seeing even sitting governors with the entire cabinet moving from opposition to APC. We've seen that in Delta. Akwa Ibom is already announcing that, look, if any member of the cabinet is not ready to move with him, they should resign. Also, you see, the North started it all over. And they are talking about a very great master politician like Bola Tinubu. Also, let's wait and see. But I think that it's like marching the tiger on its tail. Asiwaju has come back to tell you he's in front. Asiwaju, they are in front. And so let's see how it goes. If the North will actually unseat him.
All right. Okay. Let's go to the $1.5 billion question. The Port Harcourt refinery has been shut down again. Is it fair to say that Nigerians have been scammed about the rehabilitation and what we were supposed to expect? Because when Mele Kyari talked about how many people doubted their capacity to actually reactivate or make this refinery work, it was almost as if he was singing a victory song. Now we know that there's actually a lot more behind the scenes there about the operationability of this refinery after gulping 1.5 billion.
Yeah, you see, how I wish you had even said the refinery has been shut down again, and again. You only mentioned again twice. So which tells you it has been done multiple times. When Mele Kyari was there, he kept on saying that it was just some little repairs and all that. Little repairs, even before he went there was so much humongous amount of money sunk into turnaround maintenance of a Port Harcourt refinery, Warri refinery, Kaduna Petrochemical refinery, and nothing is working. And when Dangote was coming on board, to a kind of scam Nigerians, you could see that some trailers were hired to go and queue over there. The refinery was working. But it was since recovered that at the shutdown of that refinery at the first instance, there was some leftover petrol in the reservoirs of NNPC. And they were the ones dispensed into petrol tankers that were being sold to the public. And they said the refinery was working. And so you can see that it is nice that the new management is saying, let us, as they say in Nigeria, touch light and see what is happening in that place. It's good that everything will have to be unearthed so that those who think that they can make money via easy importation instead of refining and employing more Nigerians, making more money for Nigeria, and they'll just import and get some few monies into their pockets, I think they must be defeated by all good well-wishers of Nigeria.
Right. If you read the body language of some of the commentary that came up as a reaction to this development when the news broke that the NNPCL is shutting down the Port Harcourt refinery, which has been the much talked about government's involvement in the downstream sector. Some people have suggested Nigerians deserve first and foremost an apology, an honest explanation or accountability as to what actually happened by way of an investigation, which we understood that the AFCC may perhaps have initiated already because they've inquired about some of the data to look into the administration of Mele Kyari, who just left the NNPCL a couple of months ago. But talk to me about what you think the best course of action would be from the Tinubu administration. I mean, given the high performance of the likes of Dangote and other players in the industry, do you think it makes sense for Nigeria to keep, spending money to revitalize these moribund infrastructure, or should Nigeria at this point consider selling it off as part of, the privatization campaign?
Yes, you see, when Dangote was coming on board, he was rather being blackmailed. I still remember how some people were kind of hired to write very, how do I call it, serious write-ups against that corporation or that agency. But he has come out to stand. Been doing all of that, you could see that even the administrators of the oil industry in Nigeria, they were rather standing so much against Dangote. Why were they not sending their energy towards repairing these refineries? That was where they ought to be. But for Nigerians saying that the government should apologize, see, apologies will not bring petrol into your cars, will not bring down the prices of petrol. What we want is action. What are the actions? How many people have been brought to book? Since there are allegations that the Mele Kyari period saw to the wastages of our money and is abroad now, I could see that some people were protesting. They went to some embassies where they said he was hibernating, and they just bring him back to face justice. Let's see what is happening. That's exactly one of the steps. Then the next step is when you combine the money being used for this turnaround maintenance of these refineries. You see, they are rather almost more than the money Dangote has used to establish his own refinery. So why do we use so much to pretend to repair refineries when the refineries are not on board? And this is where they are still doing recruitments. This is where they are reporting people, promoting people. This is where they are giving prices for best performance administrators and all that, when you cannot refine a single cup and sell to the public. So if time has come for that to be sold, yes, it should be sold, but it shouldn't be the type of selling of a NEPA that was done, where you sold the company to a private farm. That private farm will now force you to buy transmitter. When you buy transmitter, they force you to install it. You pay them, then they begin to charge you. And so, how do you do it? The mistakes of NEPA should be a school for anything that will happen when you want to do a selling of NNPC. Right. So a good school for that.
Okay. Finally, just before we go, PDP is back in the news again. It seems to me that their problems don't die, they multiply. Where do you stand with this latest statement by the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, when he said that he has pulled out of the reconciliation efforts because the goodwill is no longer there and he cannot trust the people running this show to be fair, because he says some of the deal points that have been agreed have been reneged upon. Is Wike a protagonist or an antagonist in this story of the PDP?
If not all of the two. Because one is worried, one is taken aback. Is he really PDP or really APC? But one thing you can't take away from Wike is the fact that, honestly, he's performing when it comes to physical infrastructure. But for his political ambition, his future politically, one is worried. So where will he be? Is it that if he goes to APC now, they'll trust him 100%? Or in a PDP that, all is not well. Sometimes the spanners are being thrown into the architecture of that party, and you now see them getting tipsy because of lack of foresight. I think that Wike is not helping PDP very well. More so, last week they said he was trying to revoke the I mean, the certificate of occupancy of that legacy house, Wadata house. And this is a party that has brought him all this while. Now, for PDP itself, even when they prize themselves as the only party since inception, it has not changed name, it has not gone to end up any other place. You fight PDP, run away, come back and join PDP. What is remaining is for them to have this art, this ability, capability to bring peace in that party. If they can bring it, I think they'll make some very nice achievements. But a situation where like it's always been said, which I always want to say, or Shumole will say, if you join APC, your sins will be forgiven. So are the governors that are crossing over, leaving PDP, are they fearing that when they end that term 2027, EFCC will now land on them? For that reason, let them have some soft standing, or a place where they will have some safe haven or something like that. So if you check the party of John Major that time, when the liberals, Labour Party, the Labour never had it nice. But as a student, he kept on nurturing that party till they won. And when they won, he held out to victory until at the end, a very long time before they were defeated. That is what is expected of the Nigerian politician, not jumping from here and there with the hope that your pocket will never be dry. Even when the public, those who elected you, are living so dry and impunity in states of one.
All right. Well, Nigerian politics will always serve as at least good kind of drama. We're going to have to leave it here for now. Mr. Benjamin, as always, a pleasure having you join us for the newspaper analysis. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me, Abdullah.
All right. Okay. And with that, we wrap things up for today's edition of the program.